We got to talk some recruiting, because recruiting, much like college football, is year-round with guys committing, decommitting, top fives, top fours. I would encourage you to follow On3 Recruits on Twitter and Hayes Fawcett. They're going to keep you in the know for all things recruiting. But yesterday, 5-star plus defensive lineman Williams Nwaneri committed to the in-state school, Missouri. Again, 5-star plus. There were a lot of schools that wanted Williams Nwaneri. And Missouri has won big recruits like this before. I mean, the first guy that comes to mind is Dorial Green Beckham. But they won him over schools like Georgia. This is Williams Nwaneri. They won him over schools like Georgia, over schools like Oklahoma. This was an enormous get for Eli Drinkwitz and company. I mean, that's probably the most obvious part of this. But this whole recruitment, I think, really does signal what college football is going to be going forward. Because everybody that is upset about not getting Williams Nwaneri is saying, well, they just bought him. Well, it was NIL. NIL was the reason they got him, and that's not fair. Well, it's like, it's unfair? Really? Because you can do that now. NIL is definitely a real thing now in college football. So what I'm trying to say is, if Missouri got Williams Nwaneri because of NIL, more power to them. Right now, yelling about NIL and a kid's recruitment and being upset with that is in the same category as yelling about a kid liking a coaching staff better or liking a campus better. Like, it is 1,000% a part of the ingredients in a kid making a decision right now. Or it's 1,000% allowed to be, rather. This is a very big deal for them to keep him home. And this, I think, to the larger point, signals what the new college football landscape is going to be when it comes to recruiting. I think we're going to see a lot more parity among these commitments. You're already seeing it. Guys like Dylan Stewart committing to South Carolina, Nicholas Harbor last year going to South Carolina, Williams Nwaneri picking Missouri. Like, these kids now are going to, I think, way more options, and there's more schools that can get in the mix for them right now. I'm curious to see how this impacts parity going forward when it comes to college football, because to get these kids is great, but now to stack classes and to develop them, that still falls back on the coaches that coach football. So what does parity look like going forward in college football itself? I don't know, but I do know for a fact, in terms of the recruiting trail, the battles we're going to see, there's going to be more parity in terms of the schools in the mix. And this example of Missouri landing Williams Nwaneri is no exception to the modern college football. 4-star corner Wardell Mack committed to Florida. And he is the number 19 player in the country, according to us here at On3. Florida right now, at the time of us being live, they have a top 3 class in 2024. I'm just letting that kind of sink in there. The Florida Gators that won 6 games last year, that Vegas says is going to be right around 5.5 wins this year. Top 3 class. A lot of people that are down on Billy Napier seem to always have something to say about his recruiting and something about his development. And I'm like, there's a lot of talk about development when he had guys that were 3 stars at Louisiana that are now playing on SEC rosters or in the NFL. So don't tell me about development. What I think we're seeing right now, though, is guys that are playing in the secondary wanting to play for Corey Raymond, who was a secondary coach for Florida. That's the first part. He's a great recruiter. You're seeing dividends there. This is the 4th defensive back that Florida has landed in the 2024 cycle. The other part of this is the Florida brand. The Florida brand. Excuse me. The other part of this is the Florida brand has some real juice on the recruiting trail. Florida fans, you might not like this comp, but I think it fits. Kind of reminds me of the situation at Auburn. How quickly did Auburn kind of get things turned around on the recruiting trail in the direction they're headed? Same deal with Florida. Kids want to come play for Florida. Kids have memories in their mind of Tim Tebow and what that school did under Urban Meyer and winning national championships. Like, that brand is still very much so visible in their mind's eye. And so now, the beautiful part for Florida fans, you have an individual as your head coach in Billy Napier who is going to take that horsepower out of the garage and go on the recruiting trail with it and go and get some of the top guys in the country and go and get guys from Louisiana like Wardell Mack. So this is a very, very big deal that we are seeing them build this kind of recruiting class, especially with what's being said about them, with what they're going to do on the football field. The main thing for me with Florida is it takes what it takes, man. It takes what it takes. That's a book that I read. It's a phenomenal read, I would mention you go read it. But the main sentiment behind that book is like, there really isn't that many options if you have a certain goal in mind. It talks about it like the illusion of choice. You don't have choices if you want to go win the SEC when it comes to the kind of player you recruit. You don't have choices to go and get a 2-star or 3-star kid. Maybe I don't want to hit the trail today. Maybe we shouldn't, compete for this kid. No. If you want to win the SEC, it takes what it takes. You got to recruit top talent. And that's what Florida's doing right now. So I commend Billy Napier in Florida and big time going and getting Wardell Mack. I'm telling you, they got some juice now. Good to see them putting the brand to use. Last storyline here, Ohio State lands another elite wide receiver in the 2024 class. They now have 5-star plus wide receiver Jeremiah Smith, 5-star receiver Mylan Graham. They just landed a 4-star wide receiver, Jeremiah McClellan. He is 5'11", 190 pounds, prototypical slot guy. You turn on his highlight tape, it's like an AM1 hoop mixtape on the football field. He's just ridiculous. He is stupid after the catch in the best sense possible. You see him just eating up angles. You see him breaking ankles. Like, he just does whatever he wants on the football field whenever he gets the rock. And this is a big-time get for Ohio State. He will compete early, or there's an opportunity for him to compete early for time in the slot when it comes to his time to get on campus in Columbus. And if you're Brian Hartline, man, if I'm recruiting you as a wide receiver and I'm Brian Hartline and I offer you a scholarship, I need you to come up with a very valid case to not come play at Ohio State. You got a factory now if you're a receiver at Ohio State. You've seen it. Marvin Harrison Jr. is probably going to be a top 3, top 5 pick in the upcoming NFL draft. You've seen Chris Olave in the league. You've seen Garrett Wilson in the league. You just go down the list here and top guys that go to Ohio State and go do great things. Like, I'm just saying, for Ohio State, they have become very much so the school when it comes to recruiting wide receivers. And right now, adding Jeremiah McClellan is no different. So another big-time get for Ohio State. They add another receiver. What else is new?
Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.